right, welcome to the core strengthening workshop, a part of the ScoliClub Hub program. Today, I'm very excited to go over core strengthening because it is an important part of managing your scoliosis. So first and foremost, there's a balance between doing a little bit of everything for your spine, right? So we don't want to just do core strengthening and neglect the rest. We don't want to just do trough exercises and neglect any strengthening as well. So it's a combo of all of it together that is going to take care of your spine in the best way. So the goal for today is we're going to go over the do's and don'ts for core strengthening with scoliosis. And then I'm going to demonstrate some of my favorite core strengthening exercises, the basic ones, and kind of how to progress them as they get easier if you want a little bit more of a challenge. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go over the do's and don'ts first and foremost. If you're on here live, comment the word live in the comments. If you're on the replay, put the word replay. By all means, if you have any questions, put those in the comments as well, and I will get back to you on the answer there. And so we're going to go over the do's and don'ts of core strengthening. So let's talk about the don'ts first. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that we're not going to do anything that is going to harm the spine, especially if done repetitively over time. So the things we want to avoid is repetitive flexion, extension, and rotation at end range. So I'll put repetitive flexion. So flexion is bending forwards and rounding the low back. Extension, kind of like a cobra, extending backwards, and then rotation. So moving side to side. So the key here is the word repetitive. If you flex forward, if you extend backwards, or you rotate in your daily activities, that is totally fine. You need to function as a normal human being, right? But if we're doing core strengthening and we go to an end range, meaning you bend forward, you get to the point where you're meeting a block in your motion, and then you push into more motion, that may be harmful if done repetitively over and over. The key is don't do repetitive of these motions and at end range. So now, what are the do's? We want to do neutral spine. And what does that mean? So we're trying to get all of our blocks, meaning our shoulders, our hips, and our feet in alignment with each other as we do core strengthening. And we don't want to strengthen into our curve. So what I mean by that, so if you have a thoracic right curve and your torso likes to sit to the right a little bit, we don't want to do core strengthening and strengthen into this curve pattern, right? That's going to be easy in the position of comfort for that right side thoracic curve. But what we want to do is we want to get stronger in our neutral spine where we perform scoliosis corrections. You're going to try to find shoulders, hips, and feet in alignment, so stacked over each other first, and then perform core strengthening in a neutral spine. Another myth that we talk about with scoliosis and core strengthening is that you can't, or you should only strengthen one side. So it's a myth that you should strengthen only the weak side, or the concave side, or the strong side. What we now know is that both sides of the spine, no matter what direction of your curve, both sides are going to be weak and both sides are going to need strength. So we are going to do unilateral strengthening on both sides, just making sure we keep a neutral spine. And then we're also going to do bilateral strengthening, which may be a little bit easier. So we do want to do unilateral. Okay, so we do want to do unilateral, and I'm going to say both sides. So I hope you write this down so you can reference it later. And by writing, we tend to learn a little bit more and recall more later, retain more. So the do's, neutral spine, unilateral, both sides, as well as bilateral. The don'ts, repetitive flexion, extension, and rotation, because we want your core strengthening to be safe for you to do over time. Great. So what do these core strengthening exercises look like? We're going to go over some unilateral and some bilateral core strengthening exercises, okay? And we're going to start with basic and then build up to some more challenging exercises. So when you're doing these exercises, what I want you to be cognizant of is how you are feeling, okay? So if you have pain with a certain exercise, if that pain gets to be over a 5 out of 10, I want you to stop that exercise. Maybe that's not appropriate for you, or maybe your form isn't correct and it's causing you pain. If it's 5 or less, I want you to continue the exercise and do 2 sets of 10 reps, okay? And if by the end of those 2 sets of 10 reps, that pain gets worse, I want you to stop and reconsider that exercise, maybe try a different one, or examine your form and see if something is going on there. If your pain gets better as you keep going, totally fine. That is a go-to exercise for you. And if your pain stays about the same, that's the caution, okay? So really pay attention to how you're feeling. If it's about the same, I would say maybe move on to a different exercise and see if you can find one that is gonna make your pain better or feel good for you. Let that be your guide. So the first exercise we're gonna go over is just laying on the back, and it's gonna be a supine march. Supine meaning laying on your back. That's the medical terminology for it. And so what you're gonna do is just a level 1 march, okay? We're gonna do a level 1 and a level 2. So level 1 is laying on your back. What we're gonna do to make it scoliosis specific is you're gonna put your arms up in the Schroth arm position. And then what we're gonna do is flatten the back. So imagine your belly button going down and back going flat into the floor. We can also call this a posterior pelvic tilt, okay? So if you imagine a bowl of soup on your pelvis here, what you wanna do is pour that soup into your belly, and that's the position of your pelvis coming backwards to flatten the back. And that's gonna engage your core more. So during all of these exercises, you wanna make sure you keep that back flat throughout the entire exercise. So Schroth arms, this is a level 1 march, back flat onto the ground, and you're just gonna bring one leg up to 90 degrees and back down, and then the other, okay? All while keeping that back flat. Good, so that's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so for this one, what you can do is 1 set of 10 leading with your right leg, and then 1 set of 10 leading with your left leg. Now, if this is pretty easy for you, we're gonna do a level 2 march. So same position, but now the pattern is gonna be up, up, down, down with your legs. So I'm gonna go up 90 degrees, up 90 degrees, my back stays flat, down, heel tap, down, heel tap. My back is still flat into the floor. Up, up, nice and slow and controlled, down, down. The more controlled you are, the more your core has to work. If you're rushing through it, then those muscles don't have time to activate and stabilize and contract. Up, up, down, down. Okay, so you're gonna do 5 leading with your right and 5 leading with your left. Up, up, down, down. Up, up, down, down. Okay, so that's a level 2 march. Pretty simple, pretty safe to do, and you should feel that core starting to burn. And so for this one, this is, a bilateral core strengthening exercise. So that's one of my favorites to start with. So now let's talk about how to progress that even more. We're gonna do something called a Swiss ball dead bug, okay? You can do this with or without a Swiss ball. So this is a Swiss ball or an exercise ball. You can lay on your back, and then what you do is feet up in the air, hands placed on the front of the ball, and then you're gonna do opposite arm and leg reaches, okay? So I'm gonna reach back with my right and out with my left. And so in this position, my back is flat into the floor, and then I'm also gonna slightly press the 2 limbs that are holding the ball together, and then come back together, okay? Opposite arm and leg, lift, back flat, press together, and back. And so we're gonna alternate arm and leg lifts. Okay, so this is a Swiss ball dead bug. This one's really good for core stabilization, and it's really, really tough. Okay, so I would do, to start, sets of 5. See if you could do 3 or 4 sets of 5 to start. If you don't have a ball, no worries. You could do it without a ball. This is the dead bug position, and then you're still gonna do opposite arm and leg lifts, keeping your back flat. And no worries if you can't reach all the way to an extended position with the arm and leg, then just do a little bit, keep it bent, a little bit away from that center position, and then progress to a full lift. Okay, so that is a dead bug or a Swiss ball dead bug, okay? Bilateral strengthening for the core. Great, okay, now let's go into something that people always have questions about for scoliosis, and that is a plank. So for me, I do love planks for scoliosis, And yes, it is okay to do planks, side planks on both sides. You just have to be careful to maintain a neutral spine position and make sure that you're not sinking into your curve, okay? So this is what a forearm plank would look like. So I'm on my forearms, my feet are straight like this. Okay, and then I want to make sure my shoulders and my elbows are over each other, and then I'm not sinking down into an extended spine, and my butt isn't hiking up, and I'm not rounding. Okay, so neutral spine. If that position is too tough, then you can do a knee plank. No worries on that. So this is what a knee plank would look like. Making sure, again, I'm not arching down and I'm not rounding. Okay, so that's a normal forearm forward plank. So what you can do is 3 times 30 seconds holding in that position. Now, going into a unilateral plank, so a side plank would be this position for a forearm side plank. So I have my shoulder, hip, and feet in a straight line, making sure that my feet aren't in front of each other and I'm not bending into like a V position. And then what you can do is make sure as well that you're not sinking downwards, creating more of a curve here, and that you're not hiking upwards, creating more of a curve here. So neutral spine, shoulder, hip, feet in alignment. And here you can add a Schroff arm to make it even more scoliosis specific. All right, so now if that's too tough, we have a knee side plank, knee, hip, and shoulder in alignment, same thing, going upwards, making sure you're not dipping down, and Schroff arm. So hold for 30 seconds, and you could do 3 on your left, as well as 3 on the right, okay? So making sure you're in that nice straight alignment, shoulders, hips, knees, core tight, belly in towards your stomach, not dropping down into a curve either direction. Okay, 30-second hold. 3 times 30 seconds for each side, okay? So planks are a higher level of progression. So if you want to incorporate that into more of a workout, that would be a good choice compared to your daily scoliosis corrective exercises. You know, maybe the ones on your back are going to be a little bit easier and safer for you, okay? Some more functional kind of exercises that we're going to go over. We're going to do the Pallof press and then also a unilateral carry, okay? So what do those look like? So first, the Pallof press. What you're going to need is a band, a nice long band, and something sturdy to connect it to. So if you have a TheraBand with a knot in it, you can put the knot on one side of the door, shut the door, and then on the other side, it should be nice and sturdy. For me, I have my saw bars here. We're going to put that connected to there, okay? And we're going to do it about shoulder height for our Pallof press. And so this is a unilateral exercise. It's gonna work our obliques, which is the lateral or side muscles that make up our core, okay? What you're gonna do, you're gonna stand feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly bent. Try to do your scoliosis correction, okay? So make sure, look in the mirror, shoulders, hips, and feet are in alignment. If you have a shift one way or the other, whether that be with your torso or your hip, you're gonna try to get that to midline as much as you can first. Now, knees slightly bent, feet shoulder width, you're gonna hold the band straight in front of your chest or your chin height with the elbows out. So the elbows out position is gonna replicate the bilateral shoulder traction concept of Schroff to open up the upper back, okay? So 90 degrees, we don't want elbows down too far. We don't want them hiking high in a shrug position, okay? Now, what you're gonna do, you're gonna incorporate Schroff breathing. So you're gonna breathe in through your nose, expand your ribs, and then breathe out and press forward. So my arms are straight, and then I come back in towards my chest when I run out of breath. In through your nose, expand, maintain expansion, breathe out and press. Good. So a key thing that people sometimes make a fault with is they start to lead with their arms too much and pull with the arms, and that creates a side bend, and we don't want that. So we want to make sure the band resistance is just right. So if it's too much, you're going to be pulling like this. We want it so that you can go straight forward without compensating your form. You can do 5 repetitions with your breathing facing that way. That's going to strengthen my right obliques. And then you're going to face the other way, Schroff arms, and then do the same thing the other way to strengthen the left oblique. So breathe in, expand, breathe out, and press. back in. So no leaning, keeping my nice posture and stacked position. Breathe in, expand the rib cage, breathe out and press. Perfect. Okay, 2 sets of 5 for each direction, and you should feel those obliques, your lateral core working. Very good. Now, probably one of the most functional core strengthening exercises is going to be a unilateral carry. Okay, so what you can do, I would start with something that is about 5 pounds. You can even use a bag of groceries. I have a dumbbell here. Mine is a little bit heavier. And if 5 pounds is too easy for you, then you can up the weight. Try something like 7, try something like 10, and go from there. But a unilateral carry, what you're gonna do, carry something of weight in one hand. We'll start on the right. You're gonna do a Schroth arm to balance it out on the left, making sure the shoulders, hips, and feet, again, are nice and stacked. So if your torso likes to sit to the right, get that as center as you can before you begin. Now, maintaining that stacked position, you're gonna push the left elbow outward. So that's the traction position. So we're doing unilateral traction. Okay, so this is my starting position. I'm pushing that elbow outwards. Okay, so see that little bit of motion? It's not a lot. And that's gonna cause tension going across my back. It's gonna be used as a counterbalance for this weight. Okay, so what you're gonna do, traction in the left, make sure you're stacked, and then you're gonna slowly keep the tension pushing the elbow outwards, keep your stacked position, walk forward about 10, 20 feet. Okay, once you get to the end, you're gonna turn around, switch hands, and do the opposite side. Keep your stacked position, push the elbow outwards, and walk. Okay, so once you do this back and forth, I would do 5 laps worth across your room. You're gonna start to feel that you're using your lateral oblique muscles again, okay? So essentially, this heavy weight in my right arm is trying to pull me down into a side bend, okay? And you can see how that wouldn't be great for your scoliosis. But what you're doing is using these lateral core muscles on the left to bring and keep yourself upright, okay? So that is the key there. So when you're holding the weight in the right, you're using the left obliques. When you're holding it in your left, you're using the right obliques to maintain an upright position. So this is something you can think about when you're doing functional tasks like carrying groceries into your house, carrying a purse on one side or the other, carrying your briefcase or something into work, okay? Is making sure that you're nice and stacked and balanced and that you're not carrying something heavy like this and dipping into your curve, okay? So again, both directions, both hands. The key is tension in the shoulder as a counterbalance, pushing that elbow outwards, walking, keeping your stacked position, okay? Down on one side, switch, back on the other side. So that's a higher level one, all core strengthening. So why is core strengthening important for scoliosis? The core is not only just the ab muscles, right? So it includes the abs, it includes your obliques on the side, it includes your deeper pelvic floor muscles lower in the front, as well as your spinal extensor muscles. And that's why it's called the core, because it surrounds, those muscles surround your whole spine 360 degrees like a core, okay? With these exercises, we wanna strengthen all of that, not just the abs. And so by strengthening the core, what we're doing is helping to stabilize the spine. And the more stable your spine is, the less likely your scoliosis is going to progress. So for most adults with scoliosis, as well as kids with scoliosis, the spine is going to be more mobile, okay? And there's gonna be like excessive mobility. What we wanna add for people with scoliosis is stability to the spine. So we wanna add stabilization so that there's less progression over time, okay? That's why core strengthening is important. Although not the end-all be-all, we need to incorporate our Schroth concepts and Schroth-specific exercises in with the core strengthening as well.